and welcome back to another episode of Surviving to Thriving. My name's Tegan, and I'm so happy to have you guys back. This episode, we're going to be talking about identifying narcissistic abuse and tendencies, so that way we can avoid them in our future relationships. So I know my last video was with me and Americus, and we kind of talked about our experiences, but I think we really came up with a list of what to avoid and really what to look out for. Be talking about today. I spent a lot of time on the phone with a few other survivors that I know that kind of shared some of the examples that they had, some of the red flags that they are now going to be looking out for, and I just wanted to share it to everybody, make it well known, so that way we can go forward. Especially getting out of the foster care system, you're not taught healthy love, you're not taught what a relationship looks like. Charlie, would you stop it? I'm trying to vlog. Is there something else you would like to say? No? Okay. But especially getting out of the foster care system, you're really not taught to have a healthy relationship. Sometimes you really don't even know what love looks like. So I really want to identify what it's not, so you don't find yourself in a similar situation. Because I will tell you that was one of the hardest things I've had to deal with in life. I think that throughout the foster care system, my emotions were off, so I did go through a lot, but I was always in survival mode, so I never really kind of felt what I went through until I ended up actually getting adopted, and we sat down and I felt all of those, and I went into intense trauma therapy, and I was able to heal from a lot of those things. But this was something that definitely took me, and it was very, very painful, and I want to help anybody avoid it that can. So I'm going to teach you, what love is not supposed to look like, and what the things are that you're supposed to look out for, and that you should just be aware of. Of course, this doesn't relate to everybody. This isn't, this isn't towards every single male or every single female. This is just more so a guideline of what I've noticed and what a lot of other people who went through a similar circumstance also noticed. So we'll dive into it. Okay, so some of the red flags that I noticed, and with this too, I'll give you the red flag and then I'll also give you an example so you can kind of understand it a little bit better. Does not intentionally listen to your past traumas, or they do not retain what you talked about. So for example, I would share stuff about my past, and a prime example, he was like, well, I worked 9 hours today, so I don't want to hear it. And I was like, okay, well, that's not really how this works. I need somebody who's going to talk to me about, maybe something that I struggled with, or something that was going on that day that related to a past trauma that I had, and just genuinely wanted to care about me as a person and be there for me, especially because I was definitely there for them. And so this is something that, is very important. If they're not intently listening to you, if they don't want to know you, if they don't want to know your past traumas, what sets you off, what hurts you, then that is something that you need to absolutely stand up and walk away from. That's a major red flag, because you want somebody that's going to pour into you the same way that you're going to pour into them. You want somebody that's going to know you, know your favorite color, know your favorite food, know some of the things that have hurt you and intentionally never do those. So that's definitely a red flag, so beware of that. And it's not like they don't remember names, right? So for me, I've been around so many different people in life. I know literally probably thousands and thousands of people. I don't expect them to retain names and be like, oh, okay, I remember, Jack, and I remember, Chad, or this person or that person. No, I just want them to know, moral of the story, right? This happened to me, and this really hurt me. And then if that ever gets brought up again, they're like, oh, okay, I remember that, fill me in a little bit on the details. Something like that's normal. But if they're just no, could care less, don't want to hear about it, or don't remember anything about it, whereas something happens in the past or in the future, and you're like, I told you about this, this is why this hurts me, and they're just like, oh, really? Run. Run. Run for the hills. Number 2. Feels what they have to do in life is more important than than your goals. So this was a big thing for me. Of course, this has always been my path. I've always wanted to create a YouTube channel. I've always wanted to get on here, share my experience, help kids through the foster care system, help them become healthy after, help them heal, give any advice that I can, and kind of just share my journey. And that was something that honestly was taken from me, because and I'm going to put this in the nicest way possible, but instead of my channel, it became our channel. And I was barely allowed to like speak on it, and it wasn't about what I wanted to make the channel on. So those types of things, and then also just like goals in life. Like I was going to law school and I really wanted to help kids in the foster care system. Well, that was put on the back burner because he had this company, he really wanted to start it, all of this stuff, and I was like, okay, and I was told very early on, like, we can't be on two different paths, like, you have to be on my path. And during that time, like, it resonated in my head because I was like, okay, you're right. Like, if I'm becoming this lawyer and you're running your business, like, when are we gonna see each other? And in some scenarios, that's healthy. In some scenarios, it's better to be combined on what you do and combined on, like, where you wanna go. And in other scenarios, it's really, really unhealthy. Like, I'm a strong believer that you can do anything that you put your mind to, and there's a lot of hours in the day. You can fit whatever you want into your schedule. So if you have a passion for something, if you have a strong desire to do something, don't let somebody else tell you that you can't do that because you have to be on their path. That's not okay. That's really not a take or give. You guys can both do your individual things and come together and create something beautiful together. So that was something that I, didn't know, because I thought love was, I always had seen that, the mom was either a stay-at-home mom or maybe she had like a part-time job, but I never really saw a lot of women that were like super successful and independent, with an independent and strong male figure as well. So, but it is very much possible. There are so many relationships that are happy and healthy like that. Honestly, there really are. So, just be aware of that. Watch how they talk to their parents. Their parents are the ones who raised them, who brought them up into this world. Like, even with my past and my traumas, like, I will never talk to my biological parent in a horrible, vindictive, disrespectful way. Like, I will just be like, we might argue, we might have a disagreement, but it's never going to be me putting them down. And I remember quite a few scenarios where that just was not the case, with my partner, and just the verbiage and the things that were said I was just not okay with, honestly, and it kind of took me by surprise. If they are talking to their parents this way, expect that they will talk to you that way. Like, don't reason in your head that they won't. Expect that they will talk to you that way. If they can talk to somebody that brought them into this world, gave them birth, like, if they can talk to them that way, expect that they can talk to you that way. Truly, so important for you to know. Slowly belittles you or indicates that you could do something to hurt them without even getting to know you first. This was a very, very big thing, and it was so confusing because I also had like my own trauma and my own hurt, right? And so like, here's the healthy way and here's the bad way to do this. And so I'll give you like pure examples, because this is where it can be like black and white and then a gray spot. So the healthy way of like dealing with your trauma, right, and bringing this to your partner and bringing like your past baggage is being like, hey, this happened to me in my past, this really hurt me, and like talk about it openly, allow them in and allow them to know about you, but don't ever put that on their shoulders for them to hold. Like, you should never be like, well, my ex did this, so you better not do this. Like, that's where you can't do that, because unfortunately that means that you have not healed from what was done to you in the past, and you should not be entertaining something if you have not healed completely and fully from what you dealt with in the past. And we'll get into that at a later point in this video as well. But, the healthy way of doing that is to openly talk about what hurt you in your past and allow them in, allow them to see your pain or talk about the emotion, but don't ever put it on their shoulders. An example of how this happened to me was he had dealt with a lot of insecurities of like cheating in the past, with his past relationships. And so then it became my job to always entertain the idea that I was never going to cheat and that there was nobody on my phone and nobody texting me and this and that, and you can always have access to my phone. And I believe that that's healthy to an extent. I do believe that your partner should have like access to your phone and stuff, but there's a way of them having complete access without putting you down and putting you in a spot of like stress and anxiety of like constantly feeling like you have to prove yourself. And that was where I found myself like getting so stressed out. It was like just constantly trying to prove like, hey, like, dude, I love you. like I'm not talking to anybody else. I'm not doing anything else. Like, it just became an exhausting thing. So that's something that, there's a healthy way to do it and there's a not healthy way to do it. So keep your eyes out for that. Trust issues. Oh my gosh, if he says that he has trust issues, tell him to keep walking, okay? Honestly, because listen, it is so important to be completely healed and fully happy with who you are before you entertain somebody else. I truly believe that if you want a successful relationship, you have to heal yourself first. And that goes for you as well. You have a lot of trauma from the past and from the foster care system. An example of where I messed up on this was in my past relationship. It was like 2 or 3 years before him. I just got out of the foster care system and I started living with this guy and his parents, and I did not treat him right at all, honestly. Like I was pretty out there, and I think it was because I was so like hurt and caught up, and that's not an excuse at all, but I was not healed. I wasn't even close to healed. I didn't even know what life healed looked like or life stable. And so then I think I created my own problems. I created my own instability because I didn't even know what stable looked like. And that was an example of where I really hurt somebody that honestly cared a lot about me. So it's so important. It's just so important to heal yourself before you entertain somebody else, because if you're not fully healed, you can't love them, you can't allow them in, and you're honestly doing them a disservice, and yourself too. So, plays you against others to make themselves look better. And the reason that they do this is because they're intimidated. So, this was a big thing, and I did not understand it. I was literally, I was so confused. I honestly want to say until like a week ago on why all this happened. So, there were many scenarios where he would like go and say something to somebody else that was just not right about me, and then come and tell me something that was just not right about them, and like kind of just play our emotions against each other. And this was internally to make him look better to these people, because like they were all strong male figures that he really cared about how they looked upon him. Like for example, my dad was one of the main ones. Like he would run and tell my dad something that was so not even true, and then run to me and say that my dad said this, and like for a while it caused a really strong hardship between me and my dad, and like we didn't really know how to handle it. We're great now, but it took a lot of time and a lot of rebuilding our trust, and like, no, I never said that. Oh no, you never said that either. Okay. So yeah, so that was definitely really, really rocky and hard to deal with. So just be careful, like if they're going and telling you negative things about somebody, and then they're going and telling that person negative things about you, like you want a situation where there's peace and not this constant like tension. And I get that there's gonna be tension, like, not everybody's gonna like each other, but just be cautious. And I guess I really don't even know how to give an example of how to be cautious about that, but just try to continue to keep your facts in line. Like if you heard this about this person, like try to fact check it. I know that sounds maybe like untrustworthy, but that's something I kind of wish I would have done, because I didn't expect what happened at all with all of that. So, and it really, really hurt me and my dad's relationship for a while. And, those are years and times that we can't get back. So it's really important to just, maybe sit down with that other person if they're close to you. If they're not close with you, like, that's okay. I get that. But if they're close with you, like, I wish I would have sat down with my dad and been like, hey, like, are you really saying this? And, like, are you thinking this about me? Because he would have absolutely been like, no, Tegan, like, no. And once we finally did that, I felt just a bunch of relief. So just be careful about that. Reactive abuse. So this one is kind of like hard to describe, but I think a lot of people go through this, especially who have like went through a narcissistic relationship, is they will not, okay, so like they'll create a problem or like they'll hurt you, and then you'll be like, hey, this really hurt me, and they won't listen to that, and you'll be like, hey, no, like this is serious, like this really hurt me, and like I can't keep having this happen to me, like this hurt me. And they'll kind of play it off and play it off and play it off until you kind of get to your breaking point and you're like, dude, like like, you are pushing me right now. Like, this really, really hurt me. I've told you now 8 times. Like, and you kind of just snap and you break. And, like, for me, like, I would say things I didn't mean. I would just become depressed and, like, miserable and, like, so unhappy with everybody, not just him, like, everybody around me. I kind of became a shell of myself because I felt like I was constantly battling being validated by myself, because I was like, if the person I love can't even validate that, then is what I'm feeling right? And maybe I am getting treated right, and maybe it's just my past trauma, because that was something that was used against me a lot, which, understand, I get it, because, like, when you grow up in the foster care system, you're gonna have a lot of past trauma, but that is nothing that should ever be used against you. Like, oh, like, please, if somebody goes and says, like your past trauma, or like tries to use that and tries to say, well, this is why you're acting this way, or this is this and that, like, no, like, just run, just pick yourself up and just be like, no, I can't, because that's not healthy. You know, I never would use anything that he had went through and be like, oh, well, this is why you're acting like this. Like, that's not normal, okay? That's not healthy. Yeah, you probably did go through a lot of trauma and you might have things that you need to heal. That person's gonna want to help you heal them. They're not gonna sit there and almost villainize you because of them. So be really cautious about that. Puts the ball in your court. So, like, for example, and this sounds so funny because you're like, okay, this should be a good thing. No, it's not. When they put the ball in your court in, like, a negative way, right? So, like, for example, maybe they start putting little seeds of doubt in your head about you texting other guys, and then you start seeing other girls on their phone, and you're like, well, no, I've just proved to you I'm not texting other guys. Like, what's going on? Are you texting other girls? Right? And then you want to look at their phone and they're like, well, that's fine. You can look at my phone, but that means you don't trust me. That is such a, that's such a whirlwind. If that's happening, walk away right now. Literally just be like, no, I don't even want to look at your phone. I don't even want to care. Like, I'm out, because you will save yourself so much pain. Um, when I opened that phone, there was no going back. There was no going back from that. And that's something that, you know, you should be able to be open and honest with your partner. You should not have to sit there and be like, the ball should not be in your court for you needing to trust them, right? So, like, especially if they're putting those little seeds of doubt, like if they're like, well, what are you doing? Well, what about this? Well, what about that? You should be able to be like, hey, if you're looking at my phone, I should be able to look at your phone. Like, it should be a partnership, 50-50. You know, it shouldn't be, oh, you're allowed to do this, but I'm not allowed to do this. Those types of things. So really keep a lookout for that, because that was the gut-wrenching. Gut-wrenching. Probably one of the hardest things that I've, like, literally went through, honestly. Exaggerates achievements and talents. So, like, this is a thing, like, where, you know, they'll oversell themselves at the beginning, and, like, I feel like a lot of people do this in general, and it's honestly kind of normal to an extent. So I don't want you to be like, oh, like, if somebody's saying that they or like talking themselves up, because, like, that's normal. Whenever you get into a relationship, you want somebody to tell you all the good things about themselves. But, like, when they are really overselling themselves and, like, not wanting to learn anything about you, that's when it's like, okay, that's not really good, because I'm listening to everything good about you. You should be listening to everything good about me. Also, you want to mention things that are true. Like, you don't want to be like, oh, hey, I'm a billionaire, when you're not, because that's, I mean, clearly people are going to find out if you're looking for long term with them. That wasn't a scenario that happened with me. I'm just, like, saying, like, that would be, like, an example of, like, okay. So yeah, and then let's go through here. So I also took the time to look up on ChatGPT, because I kind of wanted to get more of a list as well. So here's some of the things that ChatGPT mentioned for narcissistic tendencies. So a narcissist typically exhibits several key tendencies, often falling under narcissistic personality disorder. Also, I do want to pause and say really quick, if you do have narcissistic personality disorder, this is not a slant at you. This is not bad towards you in any way. I really hope that you can find the help that you need. I just want to help other women, and especially survivors of the foster care system. I want to help them not to get into the same situation I did, because it is one of the most gut-wrenching and hard things to do, is to get into this relationship with somebody and then walk away from it. Like, it is very hard, and if we can put out this awareness and kind of teach you what love isn't, then you can learn to stay away from these things. So that's what this main point of this video is. It's not a slant at anybody, and anybody who has NPD, I really hope that you can reach out and get some help and, like, you know, learn how to maybe fix some of those tendencies. So I just wanted to state that. Here are common behaviors and characteristics. Grandiosity or exaggerated sense of self-importance. Believes they are superior to others. Exaggerates achievements and talents. Okay, it seeks admiration and recognition. Lacks empathy and dismisses or disregards others' feelings. So I, during the time, didn't understand that this was going on. Like, I didn't realize that, oh my gosh, this person literally just lacks empathy. I just couldn't comprehend why they didn't care. I was like, I care so much about you, and it's like, you're just hurting me over and over and over again. And then, like, they would act like they would care sometimes, right? And then, like, really not care other times. So I was like, what is going on? Like, why do you not care this time, like, when I'm really hurt, but you care, like, other times? You know, it didn't make sense in my head. So this is something to really be cautious of. Like, they might just actually lack empathy, and it's not something that they can really help or control. So not to make excuses for them at all, but it genuinely might be that they just might actually lack empathy and not be able to feel. Dismisses or disregards others' feelings. Struggles to understand emotions that don't serve their own. Struggles to understand emotions that don't serve their own interest. Exploits people without guilt or remorse. Constant need for admiration and validation. What? Requires excessive praise and attention. Oh my gosh. I honestly should have put that on the list. I didn't even think about that. But that was, like, something that I struggled with so much. And the reason I'm smiling is because, like, that's, like, crazy. I feel like I learn stuff every single day. But, like, that was something that we struggled with so much. It's like he constantly needed me to be like, you're the best, oh, you're so good, like, constant. Like, it was so weird, and it makes me feel so uncomfortable to talk about now. But it was, like, literally would get intimidated if I were to, like, praise my dad and be like, oh my gosh, dad, thank you, or like, oh my gosh, good job doing what you did, like, that's awesome. Like, that was not allowed. Like, that was, like, that's weird, and, you know, that shouldn't be going on. Like, so that was, like, definitely a weird scenario for me. So that's, wow. So the excessive, you know, just admiration and praise. So if they need that, you don't want to be in that, because you can't keep up with it. Not until they love themselves and they're able to praise themselves. Like, you can never praise them enough. So, let's see. Becomes angry or upset when not recognized. That was another thing. Yeah, so, like, if, you know, just basically how it is, becomes angry or upset when not recognized. That's a real thing. Often brags or fishes for compliments. That was a big thing. Every time we were around any type of female, whether they were with their partners or not, it was a very much, like, needed to be the top of the top. And he would do this around men too, so I guess I can't just say females, but, like, would always be like, oh, I'm the top, and I'm doing this, and I'm making this much, and hey, you could come work for my company, and you could work under me. Like, that happened a lot. You would try to recruit, like, my friends and stuff, and it's like, they're happy in their lives, they're happy in their careers, like, they're happy doing what they're doing, but, like, it didn't really matter. It was kind of like a come work under me, and, like, not in a nice way. Manipulative and controlling behavior. Uses others to achieve personal goals. Gaslights people, making them doubt their reality. So I really hate using the term gaslight, you know, because I just think that it's so widely used, but I definitely think that this is what caused me to go in a spiral, you know, and just kind of, like, he would, like, love me one moment and hate me the next, and it was very hard for me to, like, comprehend. And so I was always getting stuck in this place of, like, literally questioning my reality, questioning what was going on around me, what my feelings were, what I was okay to feel and not okay to feel, what was valid to feel, what was not valid to feel. When I would overreact, you know, due to, like, the hurt and the repetition of hurt. So when I would overreact then, or come to my breaking point, like, that was used very strong against me, and then I would feel crazy, and then I'd be like, okay, well, I just literally reacted this way, like, this is crazy, I need to fix myself, I need to heal myself. And I was constantly in this cycle of asking myself, like, what can I fix? And I know me and Americus touched on this on our last video. This is so common. A lot of women go through this. And I'm not saying that it's unhealthy, because it's actually healthy to sit in a relationship and say, what can I fix about myself? What can I do? But the core part is they have to be doing it as well. You know, it can't just be one-sided. So it is healthy to have to an extent, but it can't be one-sided. It really cannot. So keep that in mind. Let's see. Entitlement and special treatment. Expects special privileges without effort. Becomes arranged with when denied preferential treatment. Becomes enraged when denied preferential treatment. So like this was a big thing. So like backstory on my dad, he worked his butt off for 15 years to start a chemical factory. Like when I'm telling you, he did not even come home to see my mom for like 2 hours a day because he was working and working and working and working, and she supported him through all of that. Like that's what they wanted to do to build their life for their kids and their future. That was something that my dad put a lot of time and energy and effort into, and he busted his butt for. And this was kind of, so like when we started this business, it was kind of just like instant gratification. Hold on, Char. Hold on, baby. It was just like instant gratification. Like if my work isn't paying off right now, then I'm not happy. Then I'm not happy. Like I deserve more than this. I've been working more than this. I expect more than this. And like that wasn't okay, because it's like, no, compared to somebody who literally just worked their whole lives to get where they're at, fast gratification. Like you don't just become rich overnight. Like you don't just become, you know, successful overnight. Like you have to put in the work. You have to put in the time and the effort. And like it's not always sunshine and flowers along the way, you know, or sunshine and rainbows along the way. Like it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of grit, and it's a lot of time. And a lot of times you're like at your breaking point because you're so overwhelmed with everything you have to do. But that's what builds you into becoming successful. I don't think that that was something that was understood. So like that was a problem between them for a long time. And I was in the middle of that, and that sucked. That was a really hard spot to be in. Becomes, okay, breaks rules or disregards boundaries, envious and competitive, resents others' success and wants to outshine them. So this was like a big thing, especially with his friends. Well, his old friend, that he was friends with for a while. He always had this like thing against him. So for example, he had the same company that we have, that we started up, and he would always try to like talk down his success and be like, oh, I mean, he's not doing that good. He's not doing that good. Like, and it was just crazy because it's like, who cares? Like, we're doing good. That's all that matters. So, but anyway, so that's an example of that. May sabotage others to maintain superiority. Sorry, guys. Extreme sensitivity to criticism, reacts poorly to even constructive feedback, becomes defensive, angry, or dismissive when criticized, may hold grudges or seek revenge. Ooh, that was a big one. Wow, that's crazy. Wow, that's like insane. ChatGPT, you're coming through for me right now. You're helping me realize a lot. Okay. The revenge and the seeking revenge and holding grudges was a huge thing. Huge thing. Okay. Not saying that I was perfect or that I even came off right in most of the situations, because I'm sure there were a lot of times where like my criticism truly was like harsh and like didn't come off right. And I just think that that's how I've always kind of been. Like I'm a blunt girly from day one. Like I will tell you as it is. You know, my bio dad can tell you stories about when I was 3, and I literally just would tell people like as I thought and as I felt. So like that's always been me. So when there was something that hurt me or something that I needed more of, I would be like, hey, I need this. Like I need this. This is not being given to me. This is a necessity for me. Like you know, if I'm coming home after working 12 hours for the day, like I need you to help do the dishes. And like if that was not something that was done and I was repetitively asking, then it created like this resentment and this anger, and it literally got to the point where like it just was so angry and like resentful, like at all times. Like literally it'd be Saturday morning and I'd be so excited. I'd be like, it's Saturday morning, I'm so excited to wake up and like we can hang out with our friends and go grab coffee, and it'd just be like, no, like that's not what we're gonna do. Like, I'm gonna sit here and be miserable and you can't even talk to me. Like, so those Saturday mornings were a hard one. Those were a hard one. So I would just kind of go do my own thing, try to like calm down and have like a good Saturday. Um, but like the revenge and the grudges, like that was brutal. That was like really, really hard. I'm gonna be honest about that. That was like one of the hardest parts because like as much as you love somebody, like it's also really hard whenever you feel like they hate you. Like, and you're like, you don't want to be hated by them, of course. So you're just like, hey, can we just do these things? Can we just do these things? And like, let's work on this, let's work on this. But at the end of the day, like, you really cannot change somebody. You cannot change how they're going to treat you. You can't change how they're going to react. You can't change what they're going to hold against you. You can't change how they're going to feel. Um, so that was like a really, really, really hard thing. He definitely excused in his head that he could treat me basically however he wanted because of my reactions when there were times where I would mess up and say things that I didn't mean. Like, those were held very strong against me. And it's like, well, I can go do what I want because you did this. And it's like, I get it to an extent because that wasn't right of me to do. But at the same time, it's like, you can only push somebody so far, and there needs to be like a grace period there of like, okay, you really did freak out and you really did say some horrible things. Like, I'm gonna give you time to calm down. I'm gonna take my time to calm down, and then we're gonna come back together and build this stronger. Like, that's what it needs to be, rather than this, like, oh, I hate you, and I'm just gonna sit here and make you feel that and make you feel how miserable you make me. Like, that was horrible. Yeah, that was a really rough time, guys. So, superficial relationships forms relationships based on usefulness rather than genuine connection. Um, this is something I struggle with today. I'm still gonna be honest about this. So like right after our relationship, I mean it was probably like a month. Within a month, he was in the next relationship, and I really struggled with that because it's like we had a place together, we had a dog together. I mean, she's always been my dog, but but we shared her and everything, and like we had this life together for 2 years, and for you to just like jump ship, I was like, wow, like he really didn't care. And like we left it on the terms of like, hey, like we're gonna both like take a year, find ourselves, grow, and then maybe come back together, if we can fix ourselves. Because like I still very, very much loved him, and I really wanted to make it work. So I was like, hey, we're just gonna separate, become better, and then find our ways back. That's not what ended up happening. He got into another relationship, and I was just kind of like, I mean, I was shell shocked. I was honestly like, wow. Like, because for a while, for the first month, we'll get into this in a little bit later. Let me finish this, but I'll tell you like my healing process as well. Struggles with deep emotional intimacy, discards people once they're no longer beneficial. I guess that's kind of what happened to me. Mood swings and emotional instability, can be charming one moment and cruel the next. That's so true. Like, that is so true. And I don't even want to say charming, I want to say caring. Can be like caring one moment and then like just cruel like the next. Experiences extreme highs and extreme lows in confidence. May have outbursts when things don't go their way. Victim mentality and blame shifting. Rarely takes responsibilities for mistakes. Plays the victim when confronted. Blames others for personal failures. Okay, so the thing with mine was like he did take responsibility for what was wrong, but not actually, right? So he would say, he'd be like, oh, I know that's wrong, I'm sorry, but then continue to do it. And that was what drove my mind so crazy because I was like, so it's wrong, you're hurting me, but you're still doing it. And I couldn't quite comprehend that. So truly, it's so important. Watch their actions. Words can say anything. Actions are so important. So if they're telling you they're sorry, but they're not showing you they're sorry, don't trust it and run, because that's like the cruelest thing to do to somebody. That really messes with somebody's head. Like it really. And then ChatGPT says, would you like help identifying narcissistic behaviors in a specific situation? So that's kind of cool. So if you guys are ever struggling with knowing if it's a narcissist or not, or if these are narcissistic tendencies, go type in the situation to ChatGPT. Maybe they'll tell you. That's pretty cool. No, my healing process was hard. I'm not gonna lie. try to act hard and be like, oh, I was on top of the world. I wasn't. I left, I was shattered. Like, I was absolutely just like heartbroken and wrecked, and I just loved this person so much, and I couldn't comprehend why we couldn't be together. Hold on, Char. And I couldn't comprehend why we couldn't be together. So I really, really struggled with that for a long time. Um, and then I went from like a long time to where I couldn't even. So like we were in like this seasonal thing, right? So it was winter. Our season where we work the most is during the summer. So I had like most of the winter off, and I was just sitting there and I was like so depressed, and I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't know what to do. I was constantly calling my dad. I was like, let's go. Like, I'm gonna heal myself. I'm gonna fix myself. It's no problem. I'm gonna make my friends. I'm gonna live my life. Like, it's cool. So I met my 2 girlfriends, and they were great, and I had a good time with them. And like, honestly, they didn't even know much about my past relationship because I didn't talk about it. Because I was just like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't care about it. Let's just move forward. And it was almost like a state of denial. But it was definitely like a state of denial to where I was just kind of like, it happened, but I don't want to talk about it. And that's so common if you have been through the foster care system or have trauma in your past. It is so common that when you get out of something and it has affected you so deeply, you literally, your brain will shut off and keep you in survival mode so you don't feel those emotions. And that is exactly what happened to me. I wanted to be alone a lot, so like as much as like I had met my girls, like Cheyenne, when we met on the beach playing volleyball, and she texted me for about a month straight, and I did not respond. And like, thank God for her, she's a real one, but she kept texting me and texting me. Then we met up one day again on the beach, and she was like, "Hey, girl," and I was like, "Hey," and she was like, "Do we want to be friends?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's be friends," like. And so we sat down and we watched the Arrow show, and we like talked about our life and everything, and we just clicked from that day on. And that's when I started to process my emotions, because I was no longer at that point alone. I definitely isolated myself for like a solid probably month and a half, even from family, honestly. Like, I really was just me and my dog. And so then I met my girl Shy, and then through her I met my girl Lillian, and they both started to help me cope and talk about things and feel my feelings and like get through everything. So then through them, I just started becoming like so much stronger and happier. Especially my girl Autumn. Oh my gosh, she's the one who basically got me out of everything, which thank God for her. But yeah, through all of my friends, like I started to pick myself up, feel better, start doing things, going on hikes, talking to people again, listening to good music again, and like just slowly picking myself up. Did it hurt? Yeah, every single day. There was not a day that went out of my head that in the morning time I was not thinking about him, that I was not like, oh my gosh, what just happened with my life? Like, I was so invested in this person and in our future, and we had all these things together that I was just like, what just happened? So I struggled for a long time, but I got to a point where I healed myself. I healed everything that I needed to work on, and of course, there's like still stuff that you have to work on a daily basis. But I started to really take care of myself, quitting nicotine, took a break on alcohol, started going to the gym, started really, really doing things to uplift me and like my self esteem and who I was. Um, and I really just started pushing forward with those things, and it transformed my life so much. So the healing process is not easy, it's not linear, but it is beautiful. And once you reach the other side, it's such an amazing feeling. And like, you also kind of sit there, there's a long time, or at least for me, where I sit there and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that wasn't okay. Like, I really went through something like brutal, and I didn't even realize it at the time, like that I was getting treated the way I was, and like that it wasn't right and it wasn't okay. So I am so thankful that I walked away from it. I know during the time I was like, this isn't what I want to do. Like, I love him. I don't want to walk away. But I'm so thankful that I made that decision. It was so right for me. It still does boggle me to this day, like, that you could jump into another relationship. But I also just think that some people truly, like, I don't think that's a fault of his own, if that makes sense. Like, not excusing it. But I think that he just genuinely can't feel empathy. So I can't really blame somebody who genuinely just struggles with it. So I get it. But it's something I had to heal on, and something I had to work on. And I will continue to work on my life because I'm never going to attach myself to somebody who won't feel empathy again. You know, I'm going to make sure that the next person that walks into my life and that I'm serious about is my forever person. Like, I'm not gonna just settle down because I'm scared or lonely. Like, I took the time to make myself so happy and secure in myself, secure in my family and my friends and my life and everything that I'm doing, to where this next person is going to prove that they have, you know, they have positivity that they're bringing into my life, they have reason to bring into my life. Otherwise, it's just not going to be worth it for me. But that's the best spot you can get at, is once you heal and once you've truly healed yourself and, you know, your inner self, and you're doing everything you need to do. That's how you attract the right person. And so this is what I definitely want to bring up too, is like, if you stay broken, I'm just going to be honest with you, you're only going to attract broken people. You cannot expect to be broken and expect somebody else to heal your trauma. It will never work. You will hurt that person, you will hurt yourself, and it's horrible. It's a disadvantage for everybody. And honestly, I think it's cruel if you do that. I really do. So if you're getting out of the foster care system, the first thing that you need to do is take some time to sit there, reflect, get yourself out of survival mode, get your life stable, get your group of friends, learn who you are, and heal. Because using somebody else to do that, which is what I did at first, and it was cruel and not great, it will never bring you to where you want to be. So, and that's what this relationship taught me. Like, you know, even as healed as I thought I was, I think there was a lot of reasons on why I allowed certain behaviors. And so now I'm healing all of those, and I just continue to learn and continue to grow. And that's the most important thing of life, is don't sit down and stay stuck. Stand up and learn every single time. Treat everything as a lesson, and you will never fail. You'll never fail, because you'll just become stronger and better and better. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of like my healing journey. That's, you know, you want to attract good people, become a good person, become completely healed. You want a healed person, become healed. You want a broken person, stay broken. But I don't suggest it. I think it's horrible. But yeah, so that's kind of a rundown of all of the red flags that I think that you should watch out for. You know, and there's tons of research to back this up as well. If you want to sit down and kind of look through some articles, look up some TikTok videos of other girls describing their experience, and, you know, my friends as well. I can list them and get them back on here and we can talk about it. But yeah, so that's all I have for you today. Wait to tune in with you guys next week. Thanks for watching my video and have a great week. Thank you.